Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV and we're coming to you live on Budget Day from CII, where we are bringing you a range of voices. Of course, top captains of industry will be joining us here. We've got some of them already here with us, and we've also got students, investors, housewives, salaried employees, all of them here with their questions as well as their expectations. Let me quickly introduce our panel here. Sumant Sinha, Chairman of Renew Power, joins me here. We've also got Mr. Mukesh Butani. He is Chairman of BMR Advisors, one of the top tax consultancies. Mr. Richard Reiki, Chairman of KPMG, is also here. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We've also got Mr. Sanjeev Hasseen, well-known stock market advisor here. Right behind me here, you've got students as well as investors. They are currency traders, small investors, all of them brimming with questions. You've got students right here as well. And Sambit Patra of the BJP is walking in as we speak. Please come join us, Sambit. So as you can see, our hall really filling up with political voices, industry voices, and the who's who of corporate India will be here. Let me start by actually asking Mr. Reiki about the budget. Mr. Richard Reiki, it's a budget which comes with plenty of expectations, too much really riding on it. Does this also bring with it the worry that we may be a little disappointed, say by noon today, if he's not able to deliver a really please all or game-changing budget?
Honestly, whatever he does, it's going to fall short of expectation because the hype is just too much, I think. But I think this is the right opportunity, the sweet spot for the government, where the macroeconomics are actually favorable. They can do some really bold moves. I think it's time, and actually to even do some of them, you require a lot of finances. So I think bank capitalization is going to be something that should be seen very clearly. One needs to see how this interstate movement of this 10% is going to give you enough fiscal room at this thing. And then I think there should be a lot of investments for the infrastructure side. So I think those, if certain of and keeping the fiscal deficit still in check. I think fiscal prudence would be more important than fiscal deficit, because if you're doing it in capital investment, I don't think it's bad news. It's like good cholesterol, bad cholesterol.
Okay, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. That's an interesting way of putting it. You've got Richard Reiki of KPMG there telling us that. But how important is this budget? And no one better than Mukesh Butani to tell us this. Mr. Butani, we've seen budgets year after year, but many are actually saying that this is the single most important budget that India has seen after 1991. Is that again an unfair expectation, or do you think it can really turn the economy around in a way that we've not seen before?
I don't think budget as a single document can turn the economy around. I think to your question on expectations, the basic problem of human beings is that when the expectations are not met, they are disappointed. But you're talking about a fairly wide array of stakeholders over here, the common man, the business at large, India's outlook on its foreign policy, foreign direct investment, so on and so forth. This budget is going to be landmark primarily because of the mandate this government has. I think the finance minister has a new team, and I'm comparing this to the 6 weeks that he had in July 2014 for this government to give its first budget. He's got a new team, he's got a new speechwriter in Chief Economic Advisor, he's got several things that are going in his favor that Richard talked about on oil prices, so on and so forth, which is widely being debated in the media. I think if I can take some clue from the economic survey, it's cautious on reforms and more focus on business, which will be small and medium enterprises and the common man.
Hold that thought, Mukesh, because Sumant Sinha, if we see this budget cautious on reforms, would that not be a disappointment? Because if they can't unleash reforms now, when will they?
No, that's obviously correct. And the reason why this is one of the most anticipated budgets is primarily because this is the first full budget of the first government in 30-odd years that has had a full mandate. And so therefore, obviously, expectations are running very high. And, as the economic survey outlined yesterday, India macroeconomically is now heading into a sweet spot. And this is the right time now to capitalize on this. The world as a whole is not doing well. India can be the shining beacon. And this is an opportunity that we should not be missing out on. And I don't think the finance minister has to do something very dramatic. We may still be disappointed at the end of it because we all have very high expectations. But at the end of it, it may be that even if he doesn't do anything very dramatic, we may all still in our quieter moments reflect on it and say it was a good budget. Okay. And the things that he has to really focus on, to me, number one is meet the fiscal deficit, because ultimately we need a reduction in the interest rate environment, and that will only flow from fiscal discipline. And that ultimately is the single biggest tax that all of us are paying, whether consumers or investment people. That is very important. And I think the second thing the FM has to do is really just outline an overall architecture for his government's policies over the next 4 or 5 years, because ultimately,
that will be enough. According to you, that will be enough. If he sticks to the fiscal deficit target, because that will ultimately give comfort to the RBI to reduce rates, that will help the industry, it will help borrowers, and that's the one big thing that you're waiting to see. Will he stick to his target?
That is the one big thing I'm looking for. Having said that, that is not going to be sufficient by itself. Okay. Although it's a necessary condition.
Okay. Vivek Mehra of PwC, sir, you're someone who has been literally a champion, a voice about the kind of tax terrorism that we saw in this country. You're someone who explained the whole retrospective taxation to us on that day. Okay, I will just come back to you. Let's quickly cut across to the finance minister. Those are live pictures that you're getting from North Block, the man of the moment. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley there at North Block, coming out of his office as we speak. He's of course got his entire team with him. Minister of State for Finance, Jayant Sinha, right next to him, and you've got him holding that briefcase. Of course, that briefcase has those budget documents. We're zooming into those pictures for you right now as we speak. It is really a ritual we see every budget. Smiling faces there. We can see Mr. Jayant Sinha surely smiling. Mr. Jaitley there now walking to his car, holding that briefcase that contains the budget documents. He's making his way to Parliament now, and in exactly 2 hours from now, he will be reading out that budget speech, which will really outline the economic vision of this government. It is Team Modi's big asset test. It is a big day for Team Modi, for the Modi government, to actually outline the economic vision, to tell us what's in store for the Indian economy at a time when they have such a strong political mandate. Let me go back to our panelist, Vivek Mehra of PwC. We'd like you to talk about the importance of the budget, especially from the taxation point of view. A stable, fair, non-adversarial tax regime is something you've heard corporate India say, foreign investors say. Is there need to do a lot more on that area in this budget?
Definitely. I think definitely not traumatic, but I think it should be dramatic as far as Indian manufacturing is concerned. Ease of doing business in India, I think those are critical issues that taxation can handle and should handle. So we look forward to the budget providing good business environment, good investment climate, and sorting out all the anomalies that are there in the taxation, which leads to what we call tax terrorism.
All right, Samvit Patra of the BJP, it's your moment really, in many ways. It's all eyes on what the BJP is going to do in this very all-important budget. Are you, for us, going to raise expectations ahead of the budget or temper them down?
I mean, 2 words that I've been hearing since yesterday. Since yesterday I've been participating in budget discussions. The one word is dramatic changes, big bang reforms, and the second, game changer, big bang reforms, a great deal of dramatic expectations, and second is the hype that has been built around the aspirations of 125 crore people of this country. Number one, I would borrow a few words from Mr. Arun Jaitley, the finance minister. When last time he was asked, would there be a big bang change or reform, when he was presenting the last budget, his answer was, reform is a 24-hour into 7, 365 days process. It is never a single day process. So to say that only today is a reform day will be absolutely wrong.
You're tempering expectations, Samvit. I'm going to just quickly cut across to those images. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has reached Rashtrapati Bhavan to meet with the President ahead of those budgets. Let's quickly play out those images for you. It is a big day, and as you can see, cameras chasing him at every moment. You've got the cameras. We chased him. Of course, we had him right outside his residence a short while ago. He made his way to North Block, the Finance Ministry, which is his office, took out that very important briefcase that has those budget documents. He's now, of course, now reached the President's house. He's at Rashtrapati Bhavan meeting with the President, and then he will be making his way to Parliament House. Samvit, coming back to you, you're clearly tempering expectations. So going by what you're saying, you're really sending out a message. Reform happens 365 days a year, not just on one day. Don't expect one budget to make all those changes. That's a simple way of tempering down expectations for us.
I'm not saying that don't expect. Definitely, I would not preempt what the budget has. Only one man who can answer all the questions today is the one who is carrying the briefcase and the one you are focusing on. But having said that, the second word that I have been discussing since yesterday is the hype that has been created around the budget, the expectations that people have. And I would say if people have this kind of expectation, is only because, I don't want to sound disappointed on this big day, it's only because of the fact that for last 10 years people did not get what they really wanted it, and that's the reason as to why we have the kind of aspiration, the kind of hope that is being built around this budget. But I can vouch for one thing in this budget, that is, it will be a three-tier budget. It will be a growth-oriented budget, A. B, it will have something very good for the middle class. And C, and most importantly, it will have lots and lots for the poor, because this is going to be a pro-poor budget.
It's an important thought. Let me go across to Vikram Singh Mehta and Sanjay Jha. They're joining us on a live link. Mr. Vikram Singh Mehta, the minute you hear Sambit Patra of the BJP tell you there will be something for everyone, it will be a growth-oriented budget, but it will also be a budget that will have enough for the middle class, enough for the poor. There's an element of populism coming in that tone. Is that a big worry there? Because if this budget is more populist than reformist, clearly industry and the stock markets won't be happy.
Yeah, I don't expect anything else from a political spokesman. After all, that is going to be the nature of the budget. It has to address all sections of our society. But that said, it would be misleading for us to imagine that the finance minister is not going to deliver a bold budget. I think he is very clear that this budget must meet some of the expectations, a large part of the expectations that they themselves have built up. The Prime Minister said very clearly in his talk to the CEOs when President Obama was here that he intends to make this the easiest business environment in the world. So we need, and we will see, in my view, a radically reformist budget. Now, what does that mean? I think it's going to be a budget that will kickstart growth by encouraging public investment. It will lay out a roadmap for encouraging private investment, and that will be a hint to reduce the interest rate environment. I believe it will look at rationalizing taxes and set some dates for GST. I also think that there will be clear package of incentives for encouraging clean energy. We've seen in the last few days statistics about the pollution in our cities. It is absolutely dramatic. I don't think the finance minister is going to ignore green technology or green energy technology. So I am very optimistic that we're going to see a budget that's going to be fiscally prudent. It will cut out some of the inefficiencies of the subsidies by replacing it with direct cash transfers. It will, as I said, be a growth-oriented budget. And as the previous speaker said, it will have something for every stakeholder in our society.
Something for everyone is always a dangerous path to go down, because at the end of the day, where will the money come from to give something for everyone? And Mr. P.V. Bhide, who is a former Revenue Secretary, can actually tell you how it really works. Mr. Bhide, when you've got the industry captain saying something for everyone, do something for the middle class, do something for industry, make it reform-oriented, give us more incentives, how do you really work out that math sitting there in your office in North Block? Isn't it a tough ask?
Thanks, Shweta, for asking me. I stand condemned by Sambit Patra. He's one chap who didn't see the buoyancy in tax revenues in those 10 years. The tax revenues went up from 3 lakhs to 7 lakhs in less than 3 years. So, I mean, it's good to politically condemn, but there are things that happen with the rationalization of structures, and I see a lot of potential and a lot of long-term directions coming in this budget. After all, the path for reviving growth in manufacturing is not simple. It is addressing duty inversions. Some affect the revenue, some benefit the revenue. If growth takes place, it benefits the revenue. If it doesn't take place, it's just no use. Similarly, if you don't have manufacturing taking place in the small and medium sector, where is your growth come? This year actually shows your revenue not catching up because you had 1.1% growth in the first 9 months in manufacturing. So that's what has to be addressed. The roadmap for GST administration, which of course will also mean all of us sitting in this room and outside shall start asking for bills for whatever we buy. Now we talk of black money. I'm seeing the debate, Mr. Sambit Patra, going on, but let's stop black money in the daily market.
Okay, I'll go back to Sambit for a reaction to that, and I know Sanjay Jha of the Congress is also with us to give the other side of the reaction, but we know stock markets are going to open shortly. Sanjeev Bhasin is with us. Yes, sure, Mr. Bhide.
I would see a lot of improvement in tax dispute resolution coming forward. That's been some point this government has been emphasizing, and I hope that takes place, because that is one way you will surely see a growth in revenues.
Growth and revenues will come by tax dispute resolution. I can see Mr. Mukesh Butani and Mr. Vivek Mehra smiling at that, because that's something that top tax advisors and consultants have been asking for, because really tax terrorism, in many ways a word which was coined by the BJP during the UPA regime, is something that they now need to address. Stock markets about to open. We saw a fantastic run up in the stock markets yesterday on account of a very, very upbeat economic survey. Will we see a repeat of that today? It's a special session on a Saturday, Mr. Bhasin.
Yeah, hi, Shweta. Firstly, I think a lot is being made of the budget, but we have to see the precursor. In my 25 years experience, I've never seen a more pragmatic and ambitious rail budget, which has, put you in the forefront of how growth is going to be revived.
But markets didn't go up on rail budget day. They went up on the economic survey. They're clearly pointing to that upbeat outlook.
No, that was to do with the expiry of derivative contracts and some of the internals. But the rail budget by itself stood out and told you where you've got a 5-year plan, first time in the last 20 years. Nobody's talked about that. Everyone has lived down the next 6 months or the year. So I'm very, very bullish on what the rail budget has been. And if the budget can meet up to even 40% of those expectations, the stock market is at a new high. So, you'll have the economists and the geeks talking about numbers and where's the money. But definitely we are in the best spot globally. And, combined with the macros, both micro and macro, I think stock markets are headed only one way, and that is up. So aside from the volatility which we see for the next...
Today's session. I mean, okay, that you're giving a more short-term, medium-term view. Today's session.
So today it will be difficult. It'll be a lot of volatility in the market. But there is just one way we are going, and that is in the next 3 years that we are going up. So why do we debate that for the next 3 months on what certain tax revenues will be? There will be pitfalls in quarter on quarter, but a longer term trajectory is bullish.
Taking a firm stand, but we'll have to wait and see where the markets end today. Traditionally, if I could tell you, in the last 10 years, 6 out of 10 times we've seen stock markets actually falling on budget day, and which is why a lot really riding. We've got the markets there for you, 196 points in the green. 29,413 is where the Sensex is right now. That's a little over 0.5% gains for the stock markets on budget day. A special session on a Saturday, unprecedented for stock markets to open. But of course, we will be tracking minute-to-minute reactions coming in on the stock markets. Let's quickly pull up the Nifty and see now 200-point gain on the Sensex, about 55-point gain on the Nifty for you, above 8,900, a crucial psychological mark met on opening. So good positive opening on the stock markets. Let me go across to Sanjay Jha of the Congress. He's been waiting. Sanjay, you just heard what Sambit Patra had to tell you. We've been, of course, seeing a very, very upbeat view of the economy. The one thing is for sure is the sharp turnaround in sentiment that has taken place after this government has come to power. You have to credit them for that.
Shweta, good morning. I know you have a very busy day ahead, so all the very best to you. My basic concern will be that despite the fact that this government has had an extraordinary, tailwind in terms of, 60% lower, global crude oil prices, it reduced the current account deficit despite merchandise exports not picking up at all. It reduced the subsidy bill. Inflation came down. Now, despite multiple advantages, I think if you look at what a very senior business leader like Deepak Parekh said, and I think he hit the nail on the head, that at the ground level, barring, a lot of cosmetic, high-sounding announcements, nothing really changed. And I think that ought to be a matter of great concern, and especially because you have also yesterday the Prime Minister, who made a very political statement, I thought, when he almost mocked Manrega, which was and is considered to be one of the most successful social security schemes the world has ever experimented with. It may have some flaws, it may be some leakages, but the truth is it has changed the entire rural landscape in terms of employment, confidence and demand. And, I really do believe that this is not an opportunity too early to play politics with what is going to happen. Because Sambit made a point, and I encountered him very often on TV debates, where he said that, for 10 years, we saw nothing. Well, I think Sambit should know that in 10 years, on a different base of growth, India grew at close to 8% for 10 years. I mean, we lifted 150 million
very quickly
people
before
out
I
of
go back
poverty.
to the industry panelists. Sambit,
and
to add to what Sanjay is saying, you've also got the likes of industry captains like Deepak Parekh saying, nothing's changed on the ground. There's been no systemic change as far as the ease of doing business is concerned. Right here at the CII forum, we also had top industry people tell us this is the worst time they're seeing in the last 10 years.
With all due respect to Mr. Deepak Parikh, he is a fantastic person, a great industrialist and all, but the issue is there are many others who have been speaking contrary to what Deepak has been saying. So I believe let's balance that. But having said that, the most important essence that we have not discussed as yet, and I want my friend Sanjay Jha to listen to it, is today is a day of fiscal exercise, but the most important battle has already been won, I would say, because the fiscal federalism that this government has addressed is historical in the sense that the 14th Finance Commission's report has been addressed by this government, has been accepted, and the kind of buoyancy that the states are getting, 42%, and in fact 47% of the central pool is going to the states. I believe, Sweta, next time you have to have such kind of arrangements when big states like Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh also read out their budgets.
Okay, I hold that thought because I need to get a reaction from Mukesh Butani on that. Mr. Butani, when you talk about the impact of the 14th Finance Commission, the fact that this government remains committed to what it's calling cooperative federalism, financially empowering the states in many ways, it's been a landmark development really to accept the Finance Commission. But what does it mean for the centre? What does it mean for the Finance Minister when he has to do his fiscal math?
Well, I think besides the larger vision for empowering the states, I mean, the best way to empower the states is to make sure that adequate resources are allocated. I think it also suggests that a significant part of the reforms, whether it's on development of infrastructure, land-related issues, stamp duty-related issues, environmental-related issues, will now devolve on the state. As it is, for many of these regulations, there are central acts and there are state laws as well. But I think this is going to empower the states more, and which is where the real action is going to be. So in other words, the federal government, the central government would be more acting in its capacity as playing a big brother role or more like a statesman kind of a role, and the real empowerment, the decision making will devolve at the state level. I think also it will bring in an element of healthy competition between the states, and you will see many of these states now having their own sets of programs to promote investment, whether it's domestic or foreign or whether it's any sectorial related. So I think it's a fabulous move. I think we will see the effects of this over a period of time. Don't expect anything magical to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. And you will really see some states outperforming the others as a result of this competition that has been.
So competition within states, cooperative federalism, the fact that the government has accepted the Finance Commission report, all of those important developments coming ahead of the budget. I have to quickly go across to my colleague Sandeep Fukan, who is at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Remember, this is a day when we're seeing the Finance Minister doing these very important photo opportunities and important meetings. He just left North Block a short while ago. He's at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Sandeep, a big day really for him, expectations riding on whether he can deliver.
Absolutely. I wonder if Mr. Jaitley would be getting the same feeling as MS Dhoni, carrying the burden of expectation of 1 billion plus people on his shoulders. It's not just the cricket captain and the tension or the pressure of winning the World Cup. It's also the finance minister who has to present a dream budget, a feel-good budget. But let me, you have experts to talk about it, but let me give you a sense of what's really happening. I am actually outside the lawns, between the North Block and the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is, he left short while back, gave a photo op, and then quite clearly you can see some empty tripods of television crews, which means the action has shifted to there. That's the Rashtrapati Bhavan. That's where he is actually right now briefing the president, a former finance minister himself. So Mr. Jaitley will be briefing Pranab Mukherjee. Thereafter, of course, he'll go to Parliament. There will be an official meeting of the Union Cabinet. Once the Cabinet approves, remember first the President has to give his approval and sign on the budget document. Then it gets adopted, approved by the Union Cabinet. And that's when, after that, he's going to present the budget in Lok Sabha. Before that, of course, the big photo op as he enters Parliament. So as I said, the action has shifted from here to Rashtrapati Bhavan, which is right behind me. And a short while from now, he will, of course, drive past this place to Parliament.
Alrighty, we will keep coming back to you as you taste the man of the moment today. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who just made his way from North Block to Rashtrapati Bhavan right next door and will be now moving across to Parliament to make that all-important budget speech. We've also got our reporters standing by across the country with questions and expectations. Maya Sharma joins us from Bangalore and Monideepa Banerjee from Kolkata. Thank you both. Maya, I know you're at IIM Bangalore where you've got business school students with lots of questions. If we could quickly get some of those and we'll try to get our guests to answer them.
That's right, Shweta. We are at the IIM Bengaluru, and this is actually a group of students and their professor, Charan Singh, who've actually been working on a project on the budget. They have made suggestions also, and these suggestions they've actually sent to the Prime Minister and to the Finance Minister as well, and we'll get those questions. Just firstly, do you think this is going to be a big bang budget, or it's going to be mild, or
No, I think it's going to be a big bang budget.
A big bang budget.
And policy-oriented.
Policy-oriented big bang budget. Now, what are the thoughts that you have sent across? What are the questions you would have that you hope will be answered today?
I think with the Make in India being the top priority, I think there will be more focus on the MSMEs. And on that front, I would like to ask a question. With one of the major issues in the MSME is delayed payments. I would like to know how government is going to take that issue.
How will that be done?
So my question is about the food subsidy. Will the level of food subsidy change? And if so, how will that be brought about? Will it be through some tweaking of MSPs or something? How will a greater section of farmers benefit through this? That is the question.
Yeah, food subsidies affecting many people.
Yeah, I would like to, for the primary, what are going to introduce for the primary education is this year government increased the budget for the primary education because this is the single most important area. For
primary education, really where it all starts. We'll just get a couple more quick questions for the panelists to choose from.
So yeah, my question is, how is the budget going to tackle the issue of last mile delivery in the public distribution system?
Last mile delivery public distribution system?
My question is how this new budget will focus on the farmers' issues. There are a lot of issues like lack of the proper distribution system of the fertilizers and this overall over the land acquisition bill also. So how this budget will address all these issues of farmers?
Absolutely. And just quickly from you two, do you think it's going to be a major, exciting, path-breaking budget or just more of a thing?
I think it's more of a thing. Actually, my question is that there are many duplicate ministries in our government department, and I just want to know that how it's going to affect the allocation thing, and will it impact the budget very deeply or not?
So I think it's going to be a bang-on budget, and the question from me is, what about the inflation? Okay, we know that the headline inflation has come down, yes, but what's being done about the core inflation? Now, the headline inflation has come down because of the oil prices, but we also want to know what measures government is going to take to make sure that the core inflation comes down.
So oil prices coming down. I think there was just one student left. We'll take one last question from here.
So the way the government is going about the Make in India campaign, I'm curious how they're going to implement it in the budget.
In the budget. Okay, so lots of questions there. Probably the panelists will be able to pick up one or two of those, Shweta, to answer. But this is a group really which sends suggestions to the Prime Minister.
All right, Maya, very interesting questions there coming from students, from Make in India to farmers, agriculture, inflation. We will try to get our panelists to answer all those questions. But let me quickly toss across to my colleague Monideepa Banerjee as well, who is in Kolkata, take a few questions from there and then get the panelists to answer all those questions. We've got still got Sambit Patra of the BJP and top analysts from various consultancies as well as industry voices with us. Monideepa, specific questions from the Millennium Ma'ams there.
That's right, Millennium Ma'ams, housewives who have a great interest in the economy, the budget, and of course the stock markets. So let me come straight to you, Sunanda. Your question of the day for the Finance Minister.
On agriculture, what would the budget hold for agriculture? Agriculture is the bedrock of the economy, so we'd like to see great reforms in agriculture.
Okay, what about you?
What would he do to increase the tax to GDP ratio so that we can increase consumption in the country?
Do you have a question?
Yeah, definitely. For the infrastructure, we need a robust infrastructure development. So where the fund is going to come for the infrastructure development?
That's one the common question that we're getting from everybody, Sirisha.
Yeah, I'm looking at Hawkside, Make in India. So, Mr. Finance Minister, are we going to see the lion roar in this budget?
I have a question because everybody is talking about the Big Bang, and somehow the other day I saw the theory of everything. Do you think Mr. Jaitley has an answer to the theory of everything?
He has to have. There's no other scenario like this. We have huge, beautiful chances. The crude prices are low, the deficits are low, inflation is low. We have majority. I think there has to be an answer. Beyond this, you cannot. There's no question.
Big Bang, black hole. What do you think?
what I have to say is there are opportunities. When opportunities meet preparedness, miracles can happen. I want to ask the finance minister, how well prepared is he for these opportunities? And we are waiting for the miracles to happen.
We've seen the economic survey was out yesterday. What is your gut feeling after having read about it?
Yeah, but I think there will be like huge reform this time, and our expectations are also very high. But I would like to talk about my business, real estate. What exactly is he going to do with it? Lower the interest rate? What else? Because it's going to it's already facing a very tough time.
Okay. Sunanda, last question to you again. Big bang, black hole.
Big bang.
Okay, so the ladies here say big bang, and you can take a cue from that. Millennium Ma'am, very astute, finger on the economic pulse and on the stock markets.
Absolutely, Monideepa. We've got some fantastic questions there coming from the Millennium Mams, but Big Bang, that's a word that is being used throughout in the run-up to the budget. We've also got Mr. G.V. Sanjay Reddy of the GVK Group who's just joined us here. Mr. Reddy, I need to take a break, but before that, if I could get one quick word from you on the question that we've seen asked both in Bangalore as well as in Kolkata. Make in India. Will this be a budget which will give that much-needed push both to Make in India as well as infrastructure?
Absolutely. I think, the best part is that the worst is behind us. It's only a question of how good is it going to be. That's the only question we have to ask ourselves. And I feel that this budget, the focus will be on 4 I's. It will be on more money in individual hands, industry, infrastructure, and investment. I think that will be the focus. And I'm sure, we'll look for exciting times in the future.
All right, I think he summed it up rather well. 4 I's that the finance minister will focus on. We'll have to wait and see if he actually says that in his budget speech. It seems you've read it already. Okay, so individual, more money in the hands of individuals, industry, of course, infrastructure and investment. Those are the 4 I's that G.V. Sanjay Reddy is talking about. Will he finally deliver? We'll have to wait and see. 11 a.m. onwards. We slip into a quick break, but stay tuned. We've got a fantastic panel with us here. Top voices, of course, the hall filled with students, young entrepreneurs, salaried employees, even farmers and housewives all with us to take us through that poll as well as to give their expectations and reactions. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has just left Rashtrapati Bhavan and is now making his way to Parliament House, where exactly 1.5 hours or less than that from now, he will be making that all-important budget speech, a budget which is being called a game changer, a make-or-break budget for the Modi government. And with us here at CII, we've got top industry voices and a range of people from around the country to talk about their expectations ahead of the budget. Ajay Sriram, President CII, is with us. Mr. Sriram, really, you're someone who represents the industry. You're someone who can take us through the big expectation coming from corporate India from this budget. Share with us the 1 or 2 things that you would like to hear in his speech today.
I'd just like to go back a little bit and talk about the last 2 days. I think the approach of the Railway Minister and the outcome of the Chief Economic Advisors survey, I think that has given a very good picture of the approach of the government, how they want to look at the future. If you see the railway budget, it is something very different from the past. It looks at future, looks at a business-like approach. I think today's budget will move towards the direction of getting economic activity accelerated in agriculture, in industry, in services. I think the requirement is across the board, considering the spread of our population, and I'm very optimistic that the budget will lay down a groundwork and a 2-year, 3-year time frame on GST, on investment capabilities, on how to kickstart economy, how to create more jobs. I think it will be holistic and move for the national benefit across the board.
Okay, you're not asking for tax cuts.
We have suggested from CII that to kickstart the manufacturing sector, MAT should be reduced. We've also said that one has to give a boost to infrastructure. And I think to get the economy going across the board, besides the investment side, the consumption side has to be addressed. So we have suggested and requested, please make more money available in the hands of the common person so that they can spend more, they can create that demand, which will give a push across the board.
Boosting consumer demand is all important. Richard Reiki, I could see you smiling when I asked about tax cuts because that's always a demand that you would hear industry come up with. But at the end of the day, we also have to realize that the finance minister has his hands tied. He's got the pressure of boosting public spending because clearly people like Sumant Sinha are not spending enough, right? The corporate world is not opening up purse strings. Okay, I can see Sumant laughing there. I'll come to you, Sumant, as to why corporate India is not opening up its purse strings. Why are they not spending? So on one hand, he has to boost public spending to cover up for the lack of private investment. He also has to kickstart consumer demand, as Ajay Sriram was just telling us, because without that, the economy cannot grow. But at the same time, what's in it for the middle class? Why won't he give me that little extra tax exemption as a salaried class? I would want that. And something for everyone, agriculture, manufacturing. So how much can he realistically achieve?
See, I think there are 3-4 things on the tax side which can be done. It's always known that whenever taxes have been reduced, the compliance has gone up. India's biggest challenge is widening of the tax base. I think on one side, if the taxes can be reduced like MAT, which Ajay spoke about, I think that's a good thing. Not only MAT, I think the MAT even for normal companies is very high today because almost equal to the tax rate. I think that should be reduced. Dividend distribution tax should be looked at as to the rate is pretty high on dividend distribution. I think there needs to be a clarification on GAR because I think that's a big issue which is there in people's mind. India is not ready for GAR now. I mean, GAR in itself is okay, but it needs to have the thing and India needs to be ready for it. So I think and then also there should be some, make in India we are talking about. What are the kind of things that we want to put in from a tax incentive perspective for Make in India to encourage it?
Okay, so Make in India encourage that tax incentives, but that comes back to the entire point. How much can he really do? Because his hands are tied. There's a limit to the amount he can spend. At the same time, pressure on public spending. I've got two top voices from corporate India here. Ajit Gulabchand has just joined us as well. Mr. Gulabchand, the one thing that the finance minister can do in this budget which will make you spend. We want private investment to get kick-started. That's the only way the economy will grow. The economic survey has said public spending can only be a short-term measure.
I think two things actually, not one. One is to reduce taxes. Our effective rate of tax is almost 46%. If you take 30% for the regular tax, cess and surcharge makes it 33, CSR 2% makes it 35, and the dividend tax will effectively makes it about 46%.
Okay, just hold your thought for a moment. I'd like to just quickly cut across to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, now reaching Parliament. He just met with the President. He was, of course, at the North Block earlier, and now he's just turning around and is going to hold up his briefcase. There you go. He's holding up his briefcase now that has those budget documents. This is a ritual we see every year during the budget. He is walking there, making his way to Parliament House. That brown-colored briefcase that he's holding. Of course, this is North Block shots earlier in the day, just a short while ago, leaving from his office at North Block Finance Ministry, and now he has reached Parliament House. We've got just a little over an hour to go for him to really make that important budget speech. Every word will be monitored, every important announcement tracked, the stock markets watching closely, foreign investors keeping a close eye on what India can deliver. Remember, India today is being seen as the fastest growing economy in the world, and he has to now deliver on that expectation of all double-digit growth that the economic survey is pointing out to. And cameras there on Finance Minister Arun Jaitley as he is entering Parliament. Those are the latest images we've brought for you. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley holding up that briefcase with the budget documents has entered Parliament House and will be reading out his budget speech in exactly an hour from now. Coming back to our panelists and Mr. Gulabchand, who was, of course, taking us through the one expectation that we always hear the industry talk about, cut down taxes. Anything a little more innovative, because that's almost a done expectation, right?
It is innovative. It hasn't been done for a long time.
Okay, which is what makes it innovative. Okay.
And the main thing is important, therefore, to keep savings in the hands of companies and individuals so that they can invest. And second is, I think given the slowdown that we have faced, a huge dose of expenditure in infrastructure by necessarily selling off some of the assets that we have, which are already underway, would give a great impetus.
Okay. So sell off some of the assets, unlock the kind of assets that we have, bring money in the hands of people so that they spend. Sumant Sinha, one thing you want to hear, one thing which will make you smile.
it's very hard to think beyond tax reductions. That
Need to think beyond that. We've heard that from the industry. I know Mr. Sriram is laughing. Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of CI, has also joined us. All of you laughing, but cut taxes. We hear that every year. Something different.
No, I think one of the things that the FM can certainly think about doing is also improving liquidity in the system. I think right now there isn't enough bank lending. Interest rates, as I said, are very high. And that to me is, it's another form of reducing tax rates, because if interest rates come down, people will have more money to spend. And financing purchases of either durable goods or housing or infrastructure financing, all of that becomes easier. So first, improve liquidity in the system, and two, to the extent that it's in the FM's hands, try to work on reducing interest rates.
Okay, I know I have to take a break. Sambit has a point to make. I will just come to you, Mr. Banerjee, as well. Sambit, too many expectations there. Can he satisfy the industry particularly?
Now, in fact, I was in a channel before this, and a very important and a pertinent point was made by an industrialist. I just want to repeat it. He said that 7I would be the focus area for any budget. In fact, the 7 I's I would repeat is industry, infrastructure.
We had GV Sanjay Reddy talk about 4 I's.
No, I have 7 I have taken.
You have 7 I's. Okay, now I'm wondering which one of you will figure in this will figure in the speech.
Industry, infrastructure, investment, innovation that we were talking of right now, intellectual property regime, then we have inclusive growth where we talk of agriculture and the urban sector, and last is improved governance where we address the corruption case as well.
Okay, Mr. Sanjay Reddy, he's clearly beaten you to it. He's taken the 4 I's to 7 I's, and this is really the style of the BJP government. We all often hear Prime Minister Modi also come up with 4 D's, 3 I's. We slip into a quick break, but we'll be back with plenty more reactions. We've got the top voices of industry right here with us, and we'll be taking questions from students, farmers, housewives, all of them with us here in this room. Stay tuned. Jaitley had also reached there. Those images on your screen live to you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Parliament. If we could quickly play out those images again. That's the Prime Minister arriving in Parliament. An important day for the Modi government, clearly. A day when the government's economic vision will be laid out. It's the first full-fledged budget of the Modi government, an asset test which many are calling a smiling Prime Minister there. As you can see, he's clearly also hoping that he can please all, given the weight of expectations there from this government. A quick word from Mukesh Butani and Vivek Mehra on the taxation front, because, at the end of the day, a budget is all about taxation as well. Mr. Butani, you heard someone from Kolkata there actually say, we're okay if the service tax net is increased, we can pay more service tax. We're okay to even pay more income tax. Now, that's really rare, but do you think he'll have to take some hard decisions, or do you think there'll be more giveaways for the middle class?
Well, delighted to hear that the common man wants to pay more taxes. It's a larger message for the corporates. I would love some of the corporates over here to voluntarily offer that. I think the larger point, the point that was being made earlier on tax cuts, I think there is no case for tax cuts, simply because...
Are you saying corporate tax cuts?
Tax cuts. And the reason is very simple. You're looking at an effective tax rate of 21%. So yes, the corporate tax rate is 33%. We have a high dividend distribution tax rate that puts us as amongst a high tax nation. But I see a roadmap that if we move away from all kinds of exemptions, that there would be a case made out for reduction in corporate tax rate in a 2 to 3 year time frame. So my larger expectation from a business standpoint, and I don't know whether this budget is an appropriate time for him to make that, it will partly depend on fiscal consolidation, if it is revenue driven, and partly driven by how our effective tax rate goes up. But I see that if our effective tax rate goes up, it makes out a compelling case in a 3 to 4 year time frame to bring down the effective corporate tax rate.
Okay, housing finance companies, in fact, are buzzing on the stock markets ahead of the budget. Will there be something in there for the common man in order to boost the real estate space, boost housing? That is something we'll have to watch out for. But giveaways in terms of exemptions, can he actually increase the exemption limit when it comes to housing loans? Can he actually increase the exemption limit when it comes to payment of principal? Because those are some of the giveaways that can actually boost demand in the housing sector, especially at a time when demand is at an all-time low. Vivek Mehra, if I could get you in on that. As far as corporate tax is concerned, you've got Mr. Butani saying, don't expect too much. It'll be unfair for us to expect him to actually cut the corporate tax rate. But what about some giveaways in terms of exemptions for the middle class? That can clearly bring in more money in their hands, encourage more savings, and also lead to a boost in sectors like housing.
Absolutely. I think raising the limits for deductibility of payment of interest as well as principal would boost housing for sure. And on the other side of commercial real estate, I think the REIT and InvIT legislations which require to be tempered for them to succeed, I hope stuff is done on that. On the tax front, I agree with Mukesh that there's little scope for exemptions or reduction, but I think a rationalization of the DDT and the MAT should be there.
Rationalize the minimum alternate tax and DDT, but yes, some giveaways. Nalin, in one word, will this be a reformist or a populist budget? Nalin Kohli of the BJP, tough one for you. One word. I need you to say one of the two.
Right. No, reformist.
Okay.
Absolutely. But
not populist.
I have a few comments to make. First is my appreciation for the questions that came out of Kolkata. Because, those you refer to them as housewives, and they were very direct, very intelligent questions. And I think, we don't take into account ladies in terms of the GDP, how they contribute, but that was very impressive. They had a few questions. The overall comment is that the priority of the budget, which is a creative exercise, is what immediately needs to be tackled and directional over the next few years. And that's going to be the approach. That's why I use the word reformist. In terms of the APMC, yes, some effort has been made in that when we were tackling food inflation. It's with the states, and it's not just 29 APMCs. It's, thousands, hundreds of them. So there is a Karnataka model which has tried to bring them all together. So yes, that is something that needs to be done. With regard to tax code, we've had other people speak. It was very heartening that yes, there are people who are willing to do it. We did see the expansion of the tax net around 2003, 2004. It has kind of stagnated and grown very little over the last 10 years. Yes, there is enough scope there. But we hope that the budget today will be delivering to a lot of things that we are talking about. May not be specifically on each thing. It can't be. It's a balancing act too. But over 5 years, we will leave behind an economy for everyone to be proud of.
Okay, but if there's one word that Nalin said today, which is an important one, is reformist, as against the question I asked him on reformist or a populist budget. So at least Nalin is telling us it's a reformist budget. It will clearly make the stock markets happy that are already in the green today on the day when the finance minister will read out his budget speech. I've also got Mr. Kiran Karnik and Mr. Krishna Kumar Natarajan of Mindtree to give us a perspective on the IT sector, on skills and a lot more. But we need to slip into a quick break. We'll be back with all these reactions in just a bit. Welcome back. We're coming to you live from CII and the who's who of corporate India. They're all with us here in the room, and the only way we can cover everyone is to get them to say that one thing they're hoping to hear in the speech, a speech which will be delivered in just about 20 minutes from now or so. Mr. Vipin Sondi of JCB, quick word.
Massive thrust on infrastructure with a mechanism for execution and monitoring the top 50 very, very, very closely.
Okay. Atul Punj of Punj Lloyd. Atul.
Dispute resolution mechanisms for all the disputes that infrastructure companies have with clients, as well as unlocking the banking sector towards this sector.
All right, dispute resolution, taxation, those are some of the things we are hearing time and again, and something which can really help boost sentiment. Mr. Kiran Karnik, sir.
Skills, I think that's key to the future. The ability to develop skills. Lots of things need to be done, but just focus on skills.
Okay, focus on skills. Madhav Dhar.
A specific deadline on GST, and that everything will be included in it. And broadening and deepening of the DPT transfer system.
Okay, TPT transfer system and GST. GST is the one thing that can resolve many, many things. It is a game-changing move, as everybody says. So what will he say on GST there? Janmajay Sinha.
Jams. I want the jam and I want the S for skilling.
Okay, elaborate on the jam.
The jams is the direct benefit transfer through Aadhaar, through the mobile, and directly into Jan Dhan Yojana.
All right, the trinity of jam is something that the economic survey also talked about, the direct benefit transfers, which is Jan Dhan Yojana and Aadhaar, as well as mobile. Mr. C.K. Birla, clearly one of the most respected voices of corporate India. Sir, the one thing you want to hear.
Something on the Make in India program campaign. How do you make that successful, and how do companies really take that forward in India?
Okay. IT sector, we've got a range of voices here.
How do you drive innovation and help India become the hub for products which can be delivered globally?
Okay, we're making a switch from IT, infrastructure, overall industry, pharma.
So we expect rollout of the inclusive Gujarat success model in a much accelerated pace for all the people of India.
So far, have you been satisfied with what's been done?
It's just the beginning. A lot of fundamental expertise in meticulous execution, as we saw in Gujarat, is soon going to happen.
All right, repeat the Gujarat model. Go ahead, sir, your expectation.
Three things. One is MAT and SEZ for the IT industry to be removed. The second one is a little beyond the financial figures, looking at the reform of the tax administration system. And the third is the skilling area.
Okay, we've also got Mr. Rajiv Memani of EY Ernst & Young just walking into our hall right now. You're really the man who can tell us what needs to be done on the taxation piece. I'm asking everyone in the hall, what's the one thing you want to hear in the speech? Your one wish list.
One wish list on?
What you want to hear in the speech?
No, I think one wish list would be a lot of policy announcements have been made. I think what one has to see is how they have to be executed, and I think the biggest thing is lack of capital for the execution and also the policy framework. So if there are innovative ways in which capital can be brought in, if encouragement can be given for investments and the policy framework around public policy private partnership, if that can be cleared, I think that will be the big thing.
All right, so again, you've got E&Y, Rajiv Memani there putting out his wish list. Go ahead, Mr. Vikram Kirloskar there.
From the auto industry, there's a lot of excess capacity in the auto industry, and what I'd really like to see would be a reduction in excise duties, which I think may not happen, but some way to make cars and vehicles more affordable.
Okay, so you've heard auto, you've got leading tax experts here, you've got IT sector, 3 representatives of IT sector, you've just got pharma, you've got overall industry and textiles. We've covered a wide range, you've got consultants. I also believe Bhaskar Pramanik, chairman of Microsoft, has just walked in. Mr. Pramanik, while we're covering the IT piece, the one thing you want to hear in the speech?
So I really think we need a lot of support from the government, especially for the domestic sector. So we're looking forward to a lot of comprehensive proposals to clarify around the tax and regulatory requirements, especially around transfer pricing. We're looking for the ability for the government to really look at startups as well as the SMEs and see how we can help them to be able to get more business. So we're looking for incentives for overall industry and government to heighten the usage of IT.
All right, to heighten the usage of IT, startups, that's again an area where we're expecting a lot to happen. That was a question that came in from here as well. What's the kind of boost we can see to overall startups? So as you can see on these tables, we've covered just about every sector that matters to the Indian economy, infrastructure, pharma, banking, taxation, all of that, and that wish list, of course, they will all be here to tell us whether they're happy with the budget or not. A quick look at how the stock markets are doing ahead of the budget. Remember, we've just got a very, very short time to go, and we've seen the markets on a very, very positive note this morning, waiting for that budget announcement. Will that momentum continue? We saw a fantastic run-up yesterday as well. Are we going to see that fantastic run-up continuing today as well, at a time when markets in many ways have been ahead of ground reality, very, very exuberant, giving fantastic returns? But will it follow the trend or not is something. A quick statistic there, out of the last 10 years, in 6 years, we've seen actually markets falling on budget day. So will today be any different? We've now got the markets having recovered slightly from the high we had seen earlier in the morning, but still well in the green. If we could quickly pull it up and tell us, we've got 166 points in the green for the Sensex. That's about 0.5% up. It's recovered slightly from the day's highs, but still firmly in the green there. The Nifty also firmly in the green, all waiting for that important budget announcement. Time for another quick break, but remember, stay tuned right here because we've got the who's who of corporate India as well as a range of reactions for you right here.
महंगाई अगर देखें तो सही मायने महंगाई तो कंट्रोल में है। जब से सरकार काम कर रही है पिछले लगभग 8-9 महीने से, तो रोजमर्रा की वस्तुएं कंट्रोल में तो है। महंगाई वाली चीज अब ऐसे जितनी नजर नहीं आती। काफी चीजें हैं जो कि पहले काफी महंगी आया करती थी, लेकिन अब इस पिछले कुछ महीनों में हम देख रहे हैं कि उसमें कंट्रोल में स्थिति है। ऐसी महंगाई वाली चीज मुझे तो नजर नहीं आती कम से कम।
बजट आ रहा है, लोगों की उम्मीद है कि सरकार ने जो वादे किए हैं वो पूरी करेगी। मेनली मैं ये चाहूंगा कि सीनियर सिटीजन को रिलीफ मिलना चाहिए और सैलरीड एम्प्लॉइज को भी मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि महंगाई बोल तो रहे हैं अच्छे दिन आ गए, लेकिन महंगाई वैसी की वैसी है।
इसके बजट में ये कंसेशन मिलना, इनकम टैक्स में कंसेशन मिलना जो बहुत जरूरी है।
Welcome back. Just 10 minutes to go and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will be reading out that all-important budget speech. We have a room full here, as you can see, our studio that we've set up here at CII. Stop for corporate voices, but what you're seeing on your screen will also be images from Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived there. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, of course, holding that important briefcase with those budget documents. Those are images from Parliament, and we're, of course, here with some of the top voices of corporate India. Also, this time, for the first time ever, NDTV will be bringing you a live poll. We've actually got in this room young entrepreneurs, farmers, housewives, B-school students, salaried employees, all of them right here who will be actually letting us know their reactions to the budget. So we will be bringing you the first reactions from around the country, a range of people as to what they think the budget will be. We'll be posing specific questions to them here. Mr. Tarun Das, a well-known and very, very credible voice of corporate India, is with us here. Mr. Das, I've been asking everyone about the one thing that they want to hear from the Finance Minister. If you could also quickly say the one thing which will make you smile during or after the speech.
Shweta, I want him to keep his commitment on the fiscal deficit target. I don't want him to lose his credibility and the government's credibility by going back on that. That's, for me, that's fundamental, and I'm going to look.
But are you talking about this year, the 4.1%, or going forward also?
4.1%, what he said in July, whether he said it in haste or not, but he said it, he's got to keep to it.
Okay, Mukesh Butani, Madhav sir, are we going to see him sticking to the 4.1 fiscal deficit target, the one number we always watch out for in the budget? Quick word, yes or no?
Well, there could be a minor deviation, but I think if you take a 2 to 3 year view, he would stick to the fiscal target of 3%. So if he has some room to maneuver and some risk-taking ability, he may forego for the immediate financial year, which is 15-16, and rather than targeting 3.6, look at 3.8 or 3.9, and then eventually get to the 3%.
Okay, we'll talk a little more about why it's okay to slip on the fiscal deficit target, or is it not? What will credit rating agencies be watching out for when he reads out that all-important budget speech? But I have to go across to my colleague Uma Sudhir, who's also standing by with people, plenty of expectations and questions. Uma, over to you.
Yes, indeed, Shweta. With all the criticism about budget being about corporate India and about the big tickets, I have with me what many would call real India. This is, we have Chandrama and Lakshmi. These are Dalit women farmers who actually grow in rain-fed conditions. As you know, 60 to 70% of the agriculture here happens in rain-fed conditions. Me prashna entandi. But they have questions for the panel there.
మా ప్రశ్న ఏమిటంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ పంటలన్నీ మేము పండించేటోళ్ళము. ఇవి కొర్రలు, సామలు, సజ్జలు, ఇవి చాలా ఇలువైన పంట. ఈ ఇలువైన పంటకు ఏమీ సబ్సిడీ లేదు. ఇటువంటి పంటలకు ఇస్తే మంచిగా ఉంటది. అథవా ఏమి పిట్టే తినండి, కాకి తినండి, పత్తి కనంగా వినా సబ్సిడీ ఇస్తారు. దాన్ని పోతే విన కాయస్ తీసుకుంటారు. మా పంట పోతే విన కాయస్ తీసుకుంటట్లు.
What Chandrama says is that these are eco-friendly crops. They don't take water, they don't take power, and they are very, very nutritious. They are very often called the grains of the future, and yet the subsidy on these crops is very low. Lakshmi garu, meeremantaru?
మేమేమంటామంటే ఇప్పుడు ఎకర్ భూమిలో మేము పంట పెట్టాలంటే ఒక 10 ఏళ్ల లాగొడి కలుగుతుంది. అయితే ఇప్పుడు ఈ జొన్నలు, సాయి జొన్నలు, ఈ సజ్జలు, కొర్రలు ఇటువంటి పంటలకు మేము భూమికి పెట్టి తీసుకోనాలంటే ఈ తిండి కూడా మంచిది అన్నమాట. అందరికి వినా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. మళ్ళా మేము భూమిని కాపాడినోళ్ళం అవుతాం. వాతావరణము, పర్యావరణ ఇసొంటిది మన బండి వినా ఇక్కడ ఉన్నది కదా. ఇసొంటిది మేము ఆట విన జాతర చేస్తున్నాము. ఇక్కడ ఎగ్జిబిషన్ పెట్టినాము. ఇతనాలతోని, తిండితోని మన ఆరోగ్యం మంచిగా ఉండేది. అయితే ప్రశ్న అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇన్సింపుల్ వినా కొన్ని పైసలు ఇస్తున్నారు మాకు. అవి ఇంకా ఎక్కువ 5 ఏళ్ళు 10 ఏళ్ళు ఇస్తే ఇట్లా ఎక్కరకు మంచిగా ఉంటది అని నేను అంటున్నా వ్యవసాయం.
So she's asking for greater subsidies. They would like greater technology to come into it. Also credit points for, in fact, not consuming water, not consuming power, and yet growing nutritious food on those crops. They are actually also the keepers of biodiversity. What you can see behind is the food grains, the coarse grains, the native food grains, and they actually have some 85 varieties that these women are conserving in those villages of Medak district of Tangana, and these women are asking for help from the government. There was announcements about these grains being included in the PDS as well as in the midday meal scheme, and they would like support in terms of technology, in terms of subsidy, and also addition into the public distribution scheme. Back to you, Shweta.
Okay, we've got now Mr. Munjal, who's just walked in here. Mr. Munjal, we've been getting expectations and questions here, Mr. Munjal, and of course the one thing that people want to know is what will happen to subsidies, and that was the question being asked by the women there as well. It's really a tough call for the finance minister, because on one hand, there's a lot of criticism of this government being too pro-industry. It's a government for corporate India. Will he do enough to actually balance it out? At the same time, trimming subsidies is important to keep that fiscal deficit target. Are we going to hear anything on trimming subsidies, or will they continue?
I think it's a communication issue. It is important to understand that this government has said it is pro-growth, which means it is pro-industry, it is also pro-people. And these two things are actually congruent. They're not at odds at all. To grow the economy, to grow prosperity, the only thing you can distribute is prosperity. You need to grow industry and you need to grow the economy. And I think the finance minister will for sure talk about redirecting subsidies, taking away wastage. They have the most powerful tools available with them right now. The UID, which is unique to each individual, and the bank account, unique to each individual. They can put money directly in individual's account, only those who deserve and need the subsidy, not anywhere else, and stop the leakage. And I think that would be a fantastic move with the lower oil prices, low inflation, and rationalization of subsidy. It would give them the headroom to create the kind of investment on capital account that they need.
All right, Malvinder Mohan Singh has also just walked in. Malvinder, we're just talking about subsidies versus growth. A quick word from you on the one thing that you think will happen. How will we describe this budget after he's read the speech?
I think there is too much of expectation from everybody, but I certainly believe he will do the right things. He will continue to proceed and put the economy on track and liberalize things and get the growth going.
Okay, that's Malvinder there telling you. Mr. Shekhar Gupta, will tomorrow's headlines compliment him, or given the weight of expectations, do you think there will be some disappointment there?
Well, it depends on which headlines do you talk about. But, well, I mean, you know, I'm still waiting for somebody to give him 11 out of 10. Because I think there's so much expectation from this budget, and I don't believe that it will disappoint us, except we might have pegged our expectations too high. Because if a government can't bring change in its first real budget, then as you go on, friction increases and law of diminishing returns sets in, and political capital also goes away. So I think the first year is the time when the government has to make a big statement, and I will not be surprised if this will be like Chidambaram's 1997 or Manmohan Singh's 1991.
So you're saying that it's a budget which will be perhaps one of the most important budgets we've seen in a long time. Mr. Rahul Bajaj is here. Mr. Bajaj, quick word. Mr. Shekhar Gupta just talked about Chidambaram's 97 or Manmohan Singh's 91. Is it going to be anywhere close to that?
They were not good enough.
only Mr. Rahul Bajaj can say that.
You know, Shekhar is going on a holiday Monday to Udaipur. Now, why should you take holidays, Shekhar?
We want to know the finance minister's budget here. Is it going to be big bang game changer?
No, I don't think it will be a big bang budget, but I think, and I hope, it will be a great budget. Very positive for growth, employment, and everything that we are wishing for, but not big bang. That doesn't mean incremental. It's a sort of a midway house. He'll make some important announcements, and yeah, you know, things like inverted duty structure, and those are obvious things. They will have to be done. But if we think that there are going to be major tax benefits, no. In fact, I think the CENVAT may increase from 12 to at least 13. Okay. The service tax from same number, 13 or 14. They have to raise revenues. I think he will maintain for the current year, of course, his fact 4.1 and 3.6. I'll be very disappointed. I mean, my friend, Sunil Munjal will talk of
growth, and all that.
Okay, sir. I have to quickly do a show of hands here. Big Bang game changer or not? On this table, if I could do a quick show of hands. Big Bang game-changing budget. Those who believe it will be a Big Bang game changer. All right. Okay. Mr. Munjal is thinking. Okay. Okay, a workman's game. Mr. Munjal.
I think it will be a workman's game-changing budget, not a Big Bang game-changing budget.
Okay, a workman's game-changing budget, but not a big bang. So you're all saying Big Bang game changer, make or break. It's make or break. Is that correct? Make or break, raising hands?
Yep. Absolutely.
Let me make a point.
Yes, Madhavdhar. There is no break in India.
Make more or better. The options are good, better, or fantastic. So this make or break, as if something dramatically negative could happen today, I think the odds of that are not low, they're zero.
Okay, odds are zero that there could be anything negative in the budget is what Madhavdhar is just telling us. It is not make or break. He cannot break it. It is only going to be good or fantastic. But Mr. Mehra, not living up to expectations, is there anything being close to break?
Absolutely, yes, it will be break.
Okay, he differs with you.
There are great expectations.
Definitional issues on what is break, but game changing. You know, if you could see that plaque there on your screen live from Lok Sabha shortly, the time has really come. The countdown is over. We are going to switch across to Lok Sabha in just a moment from now. And as you can see, we've got plenty of reactions. If we could quickly pull up the markets and see, because we will be tracking the stock markets very closely for you. And let's take a look at how the markets are doing just minutes, or shall we say seconds before we are going to hear the speech. Well, Lok Sabha has started. We have cut across to those live images on your screen there. We will just see the speaker walking in. As you can see, the speaker, she walks in, and we will just have Finance Minister Arun Jaitley